Hello friends, in this part, we will learn how to make login system in Node by using JSON Web Token. So here, we will use JSON Web Token for authenticate user authorization. In previous part, we have made registration system, and under that, we have store user password in hashed formatted string. And in this part, we will validate user simple entered password with hashed formatted password, which he enter at the time of registration. Now let's start making login system. So we have goes to app.js file. And under this file, we have to create one get route for load login form on web page. So here we have to write app.get method with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write /login. And in second parameter, we have to write callback function with two parameter like request and response variable. And under this function, we have to write response.sendFile method. And under this, we have to write directory name statement, and then after, we have to write /login.html file name. So here, directory name statement will represent current directory path, and it will send login file to browser. Now here, we have create new file with name like login.html. And under this file, first we have pasted this HTML code, in which we have included Bootstrap library. Now under this file, we have to create login form, so here we have to write form tag with ID is equal to login form. Under this form, first we have to create one input field for get user email address details. So here, we have to write input type is equal to text, with attribute name is equal to email, and ID attribute is equal to email. After this, we want to create another input field for get user password details. So here, we have to write input type is equal to password, with name attribute is equal to password, and ID attribute is equal to password. Now for submit form data, here we have to create one submit button, so for this, here we have to write input type is equal to submit, with value attribute is equal to login. So here, our login form is ready. Now we have goes to JavaScript code part for submit login form data. So here, we have to write document.getElementById method, and under this, we have to write form ID login form, and then after, we have to write @EventListener method with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write submit event, and in second parameter, we have to write asynchronous callback function with event variable as parameter. So when we have submit login form data, then this function will be called. And under this function, we have to write event.prevent default method, so it will prevent to reload web page. After this, we want to get user email address details, so here, we have to write email variable is equal to document.getElementById method, and under this, we have to write text box ID email.value property, so it will fetch email text box value. After this, we want to get password field value, so here we have to write password variable is equal to document.getElementById method, and under this, we have to write password field ID password dot value property, so it will fetch password field value. Now for handle front end error, so here we have to write try catch block. And under try block, we have to write, response variable is equal to await fetch method, with 2 argument, so it will send request to server side. So here, in first argument, we have to define our endpoint URL. And in second argument, we have to define different option for send request. So for define data send method, here we have to write method as key, and in value, we have to write post. Next for define header data, we have to write header as key, and in value, we have to define JSON data. After this, we have to write data as key, and in value, we have to write JSON.stringify method. And under this, we have to write email and password variable, so it will send data in JSON format. After this, we want to receive data from server, so for this, here we have to write data variable is equal to await response.json method, so it will receive data from server in JSON format. Now we want to check login request successfully processed or not, so for this, here we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write response.ok. If this condition true, that means user successfully login into system, and it will execute if block of code. And if user successfully login into system, then here it will receive token from server, so we want to store token into browser local storage. So for this, here we have to write local storage.setItem method with 2 parameter. In first parameter, we have to write item name token, and in second parameter, we have to write item value like data.token, so it will store token data in local storage. And after this, we want to redirect page to welcome page, so for this, here we have to write window.location.href is equal to /welcome, so it will redirect web page to welcome. But suppose above condition false, that means there is any validation error has occur, and it will execute else block of code. And here, we have to display validation error on web page, so here we have create one span tag, id attribute is equal to message area. And for display error message, here we have to write document.getElementById method. And under this method, we have to write span tag id message area.inner HTML property is equal to this HTML code, and between this, we have to write data.error, so it will display validation error on web page. But suppose, at server side, if there is any internal server error occur, then it will execute catch block of code. And here, we have to write document.getElementById method, and under this method, we have to write span tag id message area.inner HTML property is equal to this HTML code. So it will display internal server error message on web page, so here our front end code is ready. Now we have goes to app.js file, and here we have to create post route for handle login form data. So here we have to write app.post method with 2 parameter. In first parameter, we have to write /login, and in second parameter, we have to write asynchronous function with parameter like request and response variable. Under this function, for handle error, we have to write try and catch block. Now in try block, first we want to store login form data in local variable, so for this, here we have to write email and password variable is equal to request.body, so it will store login form data under this variable. After this, we want to perform required field validation, so for this, here we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write not email variable, or not password variable. So this condition will check if both or any of this one variable has blank value, then it will execute if block of code. And under this block, we have to write return statement with response.status method with 400 error code. And after this, we have to write JSON method, and under this, we have to write error message like please provide all required field. So it will send error data to client side, which will be displayed on web page. Now we want to validate user email address and password details, so for this, here we have to write database.query method with 3 parameter, so in first parameter, we have to write select query. So here we have to write select star from user table, where user email is equal to question mark. In second argument, we have to write email variable, and in third argument, we have to write asynchronous callback function with 2 parameter like error and results variable. Under this callback function, we have to check particular email address exists in user table or not. So for this, here we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write results.length value is greater than 0. If this condition true, that means user has entered correct email address details, and it will execute if block of code. And under this block, we have to write user variable is equal to results variable with 0 index. So here, we have store fetch data under this user variable. Now we want to check user has entered correct password or not, so for this, here we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write await bcrypt.compare method with 2 parameter. In first parameter, we have to write password variable, in which we have to store password in simple string format, which is user has entered. And in second argument, we have to write user.user password table column, so here, it will compare simple string password with hashed formatted password, which is stored in database. If user has entered correct password, then it will execute if block of code, and under this block, we want to generate JSON Web Token. So for this, here we have to write token variable is equal to JWT.sign method with 3 parameter. In first parameter, we have to define payload data in an array of object format. So here, we have to write user ID key, and in value, we have to write user.user ID. In second parameter, we have to write secret key variable, in which we have store secret key for generate token. In third parameter, we have to define token expiration time, so here, we have defined 1 hour, so it will expires this token after 1 hour. So this code will generate token, in which we have store user ID data, which we will use for authenticate user login status. And after this, we want to send token to client side, so for this, here we have to write response.status method with 200 success code, and then after, we have to write JSON method. And under this, we have to write token variable, so it will send token to client side. But suppose user has entered wrong password, then it will execute this else block of code, and here, we have to write response.status method with 401 error code with JSON method, and under this method, we have to define error data like wrong password, So this error will be sent to client. And again, if user has entered wrong email address, then it will execute this else block of code, and here we have to write response.status method with 401 error code with JSON method, and under this method we have to define error data like wrong email, so this error will be sent to client. But suppose there is any internal server error has occur, then it will execute catch block of code, and here we have to write response.status method with 500 error code with JSON method, and under this method we have to define error data like internal server error, so this error will be sent to client. So here our login code is ready. Now we want to create one route for load welcome page in the browser. So here we have to write app.get method with two parameter. In first parameter we have to write /welcome, and in second parameter we have to write callback function with request and response variable as parameter. Under this function we have to write response.sendFile method, and under this method we have to write directory name statement plus welcome.html file name, so it will display this file content on web page. Now here we have create one new file with name like welcome.html, and under this file first have paste this HTML code in which we have used Bootstrap library. Under this file we have write code for display welcome message to login user, and after this we want to check user is login or not. This is because only login user can access this page. So for this, here in JavaScript code we have to write token variable is equal to local storage.getItem method, and under this method we have to write token, so this code will get value of token variable which is stored under local storage and stored under token variable. Now we have to write if statement, and under condition we have to write not token variable. So this condition will check if this variable has blank value or null value, then it will execute if block of code. And under this block we have to write window.location.href is equal to /login. So it will redirect web page to login form if user is not login into system and try to access this page. After this we have create one logout function for logout from system, and under this function we have to write local storage.remove item method, and under this method we have to write token. So this code will remove variable with name token from local storage variable, and next for redirect to login page. Here we have to write window.location.href is equal to /login, so it will redirect web page to login page. After this, here we have to create logout button, so for this, here we have to write button tag with type is equal to button. And after this, we have to write on click attribute is equal to logout function, so when we have click on logout button, then it will call logout function, which will log out to user from system. So here, our code is ready. Now we have goes to terminal window, and here we have run node app.js, so it will start node server. So friends, here we have write /login and press enter. So here on web, we can see login form has been displayed. Now first we want to check validation is working or not. So we have directly click on login button. So after click on login button, here we can see that validation error has been displayed. After this, we have enter drawing email address details, and password details. And after this, we have click on login button, so now it has display, drawing email error message on web page. So now we have enter, correct email address details, and drawing password details. And after this, we have click on login button, so now, it has display, drawing password error message has been display. Now we have enter, correct email address and password details. And after this, we have click on login button, and after click on login button, here we can see that user has been logged into system, and here on web page, we can see that welcome message has been displayed on web page. And below this, we can see that logout link also display for logout from this system. So we have click on this logout link, and after click on this, we can see that user has been logged out from system. Now we want to check that without login into system, user can access welcome page or not. So here, we have to write welcome in place of login and press enter. So after press enter, here we can see that we have again redirect to login page. So without login, we cannot access welcome page. So in this part, we have made successful login system in Node by using JSON Web Token. In next part, we will show you how to fetch data from JSON Web Token and display on web page. So we will be meet in next part.